Ronald Reagan, the 40th President of the United States. He went from creating the Nuclear Waste Act of 1982 to Reaganomics, the good and bad of his presidency. 60 Minutes is about to get an in-depth interview with Ronald Reagan and the ongoing choices of his presidency from 1981 to 1989. In this interview, I will ask Ronald Reagan to explain his choices over the topic on Reaganomics, the Iran-Contra affair, the Nuclear Waste Act of 1982, and some more. Now 60 Minutes will get an in-depth story from the source. So, first off, I would like to ask, why did you cut taxes so much?
While I do believe the deficit created by my wanting to cut taxes during the time was the greatest disappointment of my presidency, I still do believe that at the time it was the best choice to do this just because it made Americans happier and it really gave them the will to actually start working in the workforce.
How do you feel about SDI never accomplishing anything?
Even though the SDI was never seen through, it was a decent deterrent of war. The Russians in a poor economic state could not compete with the high American SDI. So even though we could not shoot down any nukes at Russia during the time, the SDI helped by showing the Russians that we would and could outspend them.
You said it was a great disappointment. And another common topic is the Iran-Contra affair. Arms for hostages? Where did that idea come from? How did the Iran-Contra affair affect you on views on the world? And how did the people view you after that?
It was my responsibility as president to bring all those Americans home. All the other actions were taken in the name of democracy. I would do the same thing for another country in danger of being oppressed faster than an eagle could catch a mouse.
Speaking of foreign affairs, what led you to the decision to create a compromised Nuclear Waste Act of 1982?
With the continuing nuclear arms race and nuclear power becoming more and more popular, America was running out of space to store nuclear waste. So for America to grow and develop as a country and a nation, I had to implement a way to control this nuclear waste, and that's why I created the Nuclear Waste Act of 1982.
How do you feel about the term Reaganomics? How does it pertain to political views on cutting taxes and increased defense spending?
I think the name is fitting just because I made Reaganomics and I am willing to stand by what I thought was right at the time, even though it meant cutting taxes and making America go deeper and deeper in debt than it already was at the time.
Now we'll go to H.W. Bush for some more insight into Reagan's political and presidential office. So, Mr. Bush, how did you feel about Reagan's presidency?
Well, even though some of the things Reagan did were frowned upon, we did all of those things with America's best interest in mind.
Even his unique views on economics?
Yes. Even though we consider it to be the greatest disappointment of our presidency, the public economic growth, and ending of the Cold War was greatly worth it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bush. It's a great insight into Ronald Reagan's office. Mr. Reagan, do you believe Obamacare is helping the United States as much as when you cut taxes?
I do believe that Obamacare is helping because the people who cannot afford proper health care can now live longer and better in America as a whole. Even though it will cost everyone a little bit of money, it really comes to show that when others are suffering in the nation, everyone has to suffer just because it helps everyone get a little bit on the same ground.
Outside of America, Ukraine is going through a bit of an event as of right now. Would you allow the Ukraine to become part of Russia again, or would you find a compromise like the Iran-Contra affair in the weapons for hostages view?
I would not allow the Ukrainians to become a part of Russia again just because throughout the Cold War, America saw how oppression affected the Russians. So I do not believe I mean, I know that they have changed. It's just, it's kind of hard to wipe away that image that they left on us.
Do you believe we should be more brutal with North Korea?
I do not believe that we should be more brutal with North Korea just because of the nuclear threat. And we spent, back when I was president, the past 30 or 40 years trying to contain communism, so it would kind of be hypocritical if we actually got involved with what was going on with North Korea right now. So, no, we don't want to get involved.
Do you believe brutal strength is needed for peace among people?
The government is there to protect the people from other countries and from themselves. So, being a statement, it is needed. Brutal strength is needed because a squishy, gooey government could not get anywhere in the society today and would not be able to protect their people from other countries.
Well, thank you, Ronald Reagan, for doing this interview with 60 Minutes. Do you have anything to say to the United States?
The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest thing. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things.
Bye!